What up, YouTube? You already know. Big Lou tapping back in. What it do? Big Lou, MCR2, baby. So as you can tell from that thumbnail, that's America's mayor, the one and only Rodolfo Giuliani, right? Davanzo, Rudy Davanzo Giuliani. That's his mother's maiden name, Davanzo. Does that sound familiar, that middle name? Davanzo? Well, if you guys watched Mob Wives, it should. The Albanian broad, I can't think of her name right now. Drita. Her husband was Lee Davanzo. That is Rudy's cousin. The jailbird, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm not laughing at Lee because he's a jailbird, right? I was a jailbird. But I'm laughing because he so badly wanted to he wanted to so badly separate himself from family members that were involved in crime. His daddy was involved in crime. His daddy was a rough, one of them, a cat that would go and collect money and stuff like that. His daddy was linked up with the couple of Davanzo cousin-in-laws, I think, or uncle-in-laws. I'm not sure what they were to Rudy's mom, but they also had ties with the Espositos. Mob cop Louis Esposito, his uncle and cousin. Rudy's dad had ties with them, as well as some Davanzos that were, connected guys. So Rudy knew what some of, what he came up under, his family, you know what I'm saying? And he wanted to so bad separate himself from any of that. I seen a story, I think it was by NYC's Crime Spot. Shout out to Brett over there, Crime Spot. He did a story, and it was about a wedding. Last time that Rudy was seen, around and actually associated with some family members when he was about 18 years old at a wedding. And that was pretty much it. So he goes on, obviously goes to law school, goes to all colleges, gets all that done. He ends up becoming he ended up working in the Justice Department, right? And then he becomes the head of the Southern District of New York, SDNY, right? And he was the one known to spearhead the famous commission case of 1983. I think they started the investigation around 83-ish, and they came down on the fellas, the bosses, and the 13 defendants. Well, let's see. You had the 3 administrative members from the Lucchese's. You had Corallo, Santoro, and Christy Ticfernari. From the Colombos, you had Persico, acting boss, underboss, Jerry Lang, Ralph Scopo. That's 5 right there. Originally you had Paul Castellano and Neil Della Croce were also defendants. Della Croce ends up dying on December 2nd, 1985 from cancer. And exactly 2 weeks later, Paul Castellano's murdered on December 16, 1985 in Manhattan in front of Spark Steakhouse. Okay, you have Fat Tony Salerno from the Genovese. And then you had Anthony Bruno Delicato from the Bonanos. And who am I missing? That's 10 defendants right there. I think I'm missing a couple of. I'm still missing a couple of. There was a couple other people that got wrapped up in that commission case. I think Dominic Cataldo was one from the Colombos, and I'm pretty sure there's a few more. But those are the main ones. Those 10 that I named. Eventually, Della Croce gets taken off of it because he dies, and then eventually Castellano gets taken off because he dies. One murdered, one died by natural causes. And then also, I think Philip Rusty Rustelli was originally charged, but then dropped because they found out that the Bonanos were no longer sitting on the active commission because of the debacle with Joe Pistone and also what's his name? Joe Pistone, and then the Pizza Connection. I think it was the French Connection or the Pizza Connection, one of those. Sorry about that. I got sidetracked because I thought it wasn't recording. So anyways, Giuliani was not, because a lot of people don't know this, Giuliani was not the attorneys in court. He was the head of that office, right? Michael Chorosky, I forgot how to say his name correctly. He was one of the attorneys. There was a few attorneys, but they had a huge, huge team of FBI agents they had squads, They had the Colombo squad, the Gambino squad, the Lucchese squad, the Genovese squad, and the Bonanno squad. And I don't know how many agents were in each squad, but obviously the Genovese and the Gambino were bigger families, so they had probably more agents. But then they also had agents that break into, the break-in crews, breaking the cars, breaking the businesses, breaking the homes. They were doing all that janky shit too, right? And Giuliani was the one that pushed this. I mean, obviously the judge signs off on it, but his office was the one pushing it through the FBI and the attorney's office, United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York. And he's going after these guys. They're mobsters, okay. They're ruining people's lives. They're taking, they're stealing, they're pillaging, they're doing all this, criminal stuff, blah, 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 blah. All right? When I say blah, 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 I'm just saying so on and so forth, boppity bop, bop, depending where you're from. And the only reason I'm saying like that, because I will get to where I'm going with this at the end, or more towards the end and then very end. And so he reads a book, 1983, 84, whatever year it was, written by Joe Bonanno, right? Honor, what was it called? Man of Honor, I think it was called. It was a pretty decent book. I read it when I was in the pen. And so he's, Joe Bonanno obviously breaks down the commission, the original commission members, old school stuff before he became an actual sitting boss. The Casa del Mare, the Gulf of War between Mazzaria and Marzano, different heads of areas. When this is Bonanno, when he's, 23, 24, 25 years old, right? 26 years old. He finally takes over as a boss of his own family. He takes over from Maranzano, and it becomes a Bonanno family going forward. He rules for the next 35 years, I think, straight as a boss. And so a lot of the stuff that Giuliani, a lot of the stuff that Bonanno wrote in the book, Giuliani used as, evidence in the commission case to help convict the bosses under the Rico Act. Okay, so the Rico Act was on the books since 1970, right? The Rico stands for Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act, and it was Robert Blakely was a professor. He's the one that came up with the law. They introduced it to Congress. Congress passed it through 1970. The first time that the Rico Act somebody was charged under the Rico Act, indicted under the Rico Act, wasn't until 1978, 1979, and it was a biker group. It wasn't even the mob, Italian mob, which it was basically created for at that time. But since then, many different groups, gangs, street gangs, prison gangs, Trump and Giuliani are now charged up under it. So it's kind of ironic, right? So the first case that's brought on the federal level against the Italian mob, American Italian mob, was this case that I'm speaking of that's known as the commission case, headed by Rudy Giuliani. And like I said, the investigation started around 83-ish, and they started making arrests around 80, I think it was about 84 or 85. And then I think by 86, it was done in court. The guys that were remaining, what I mean by remaining was Castellano was killed, Della Croce was died by natural causes, cancer. Rastelli was eliminated from the case because they were able to, through wiretaps and surveillance and all that, to know that the Bonannos were no longer sitting on the commission. So fast forward, Giuliani gets a lot of the credit for this case. Like I said, it was his office that spearheaded it, but it wasn't him involved in the actual arguments in court, even though, from my understanding, he was in court a lot. right? Michael Francis also has said that Giuliani had brought a case against him as well. I'm pretty sure at least one case. It might have been a couple, and that he, he threatened him that he was going to give him double what his dad got, and his dad got 50 years in a 1967 case that he finally exhausted all his appeals in 1970 and went away to go do the 50 years. The difference was back then that was the old law, and Michael's dad, Sonny, only had to do, he only did 8.5, 9 originally before he was released the first time. But then he ended up returning back on violations multiple times, adding up to about a total of about 25 to 30 years, which he ended up doing, I think, 38 years altogether, 39 years altogether in custody. Man, one of these guys are farting. Excuse me. So Giuliani gets a lot of this credit, right? So Bonanno gets subpoenaed to they want him to come testify. He refuses. He ends up getting contempt of court, I believe, and he does a little jail time. So when it all came down and said and done, the old man held his mug. He didn't tell, even though people look at the book as a form of ratting, right? And then it was uncovered that all along his son was giving up information to the FBI as well. But I don't know how much, it was old information on back in New York on the actual family, or was he continuing to give information on stuff in California and Arizona and things like that? I'm not really sure on that right now. So Giuliani gets a lot of the praise for them, that there was court case, right? And some of the other ones that they brought forward too, as well as when Tommaso Buscetta is which was the French Connection case, I believe it was. He became an informant and or he became a cooperator, and then he started giving up information to the United States authorities, and Giuliani was involved with that as well. Okay, fast forward, he ends up getting out of law for the government, and he becomes the mayor of New York City, right? He ended up becoming Mr. Mayor, right? America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani. This was during 9/11 and all that. He was considered he brought back New York to some of the he kind of cleaned up New York somewhat in some places, right? Manhattan, I'm pretty sure, downtown New York, he had some controversial things with stop and frisk and all that type of stuff, and I'm pretty sure that was under Giuliani. So he becomes the mayor. He makes a presidential run. Nowhere, he gets eliminated fast. He starts pushing for Trump. Trump runs for president. He starts pushing for Trump. He starts making these insane, just outrageous, outlandish quotes and statements over and over again. The election was rigged. The election was stolen. He goes all around making weird, unproven statements over and over again. Sounds like a madman. One point he's up there talking, and he's got something dripping here, and it ends up being hair dye, from the sweat and all that. The guy's turning into a pretty bad. It's going pretty bad for him right now. He's getting real. It says when he gets a couple cocktails in him, he starts, going off and just being really very unprofessional. And he's, now he's older, late 70s. He might even be early 80s. I can't remember right now. He's either 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, something around there. But he makes these statements and starts defaming the Georgia election workers, Ruby and her daughter. And just making outlandish statements. And then you have all these people that are supporters of Trump eat it up, and then they just go and threaten these people where they can't live right, and there's no proof of them doing anything wrong. So they sue him, and now he gets hit for $100-something million lawsuit, right? $140 million lawsuit, and now it's time to cry and whine and bitch and complain. But you're over there running your mouth constantly about you're a tough guy, they don't got balls. These are alpha, these are beta males, and we're alpha males. But then you guys are always bitching and complaining and crying. It's not fair. It's not fair. How it ain't fair? How are you gonna make up anything about people and then put it out there? The only thing that saves fucking Trump is that he was a president, that he was elected official That's the only thing that saves him from making, from people going after him going at people. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise he would have been sued too. Because he was saying, he was on that same road, dangerous shit, saying stupid shit. But they always like to bring their kids into shit. Bring up I'm a mother, I'm a father. I think of my kids first. Or what about all these people that you're fucking talking shit about to get the wolves sicked on them? You know what I'm saying? And they got kids. It's sick shit. Motherfuckers need, you know what I'm saying? It's just sick, terrible shit how these people act. And all the while they're bitching, complaining about how they're being mistreated. But in the meantime, they're making every statement and disparaging comments all along about people, their personal life, about their family members. It's just fucking coward shit. That's what the shit is, coward shit. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that backs a fucking adjudicated rapist, and then it's not like, what proof they got? Well, it came out of his own fucking mouth. It came out of his own mouth, and he tried to say, it's just locker room talk. I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I never heard no dudes talking about raping fucking broads or women. Excuse me, women, broads, women, anybody, young ladies, fucking anybody, anybody of the opposite sex. I've never heard anybody brag about just grabbing them and doing this and that. And then when he was under deposition and the tape was brought up about the Access Hollywood tape, he didn't say like, "Oh, that was banner room talk," because he was under oath, so he couldn't lie, right? Even though he still lied, he constantly lies. So Rudy got hit. He's filing bankruptcy. Even some of his creditors are saying that he needs to make us whole. He needs to go ahead and sell his condo in Florida. It's like a $3.5 million condo in Florida. He has a couple apartments in New York worth a couple $1 million. He's got to pay his alimony to his ex-wife. That's a pretty good amount too. But the point of this all is that this is all self-made problems. If you didn't run your fucking mouth and act so recklessly and unprofessional the way you have, you wouldn't have these issues. And it's funny because you get up there and you talk all that shit about the election being stolen and this, but then when you go in court, anytime you're in court under oath, because you have a law license, well, you did to practice law, now you don't. So you can't just go in a courtroom and just lie purposely, because that's not the way it works. All these statements you said about things being stolen and such, not a peep comes out about that in the courtroom. And why is that? I'll wait. Think about it. I think we know why that is, right? Because he's just full of shit and lying, right? Very dangerous. It's very dangerous for people when they go this route. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people out there that ain't stable and they really believe some weird stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then when people like that are in a position of authority, such as Donald Trump, right? America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, right? He was a court of the law. He was a high-ranking official in the U.S. Justice Department, right? He was the mayor of New York, right? He was President Trump's personal attorney at one point, even though he takes credit for being the lead attorney in the impeachments and the 2 impeachments. He was not the lead attorney. He wasn't even there in the chamber, in the Senate chamber, right? So he's just all-around liar, just like his master Dump is, right? And people need to realize and pay attention and realize, and don't just, it's real easy to just do a little research. You know what I'm saying? Now he's on the grift like Trump, right? He's got a website called something Justice for Rudy or something like that, and he's just grifting all our money, trying to make money off the people, right? That the reason he's in his mess, like I said, is just from his own doing, from his own talking out the side of his neck, right? And so all those people that were mobsters, right, that he went after and said they were bad people and they were doing this and they done that and they did this to other people and they done that. You ain't no fucking difference. Look at you, you fucking clown. Now you're facing a Rico charge. You fucking lying piece of shit. You guys are fucking lying piece of shit motherfuckers. You know that? And I'm going to say it just like I feel. I don't give a flying fuck who likes it or who don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Because all you motherfuckers do, all we hear about is, this ain't fair. They're trying to ruin me. This ain't fair. It's your own fucking doing, dummy. You think I fucking, every time when I get arrested, I say, the times I got arrested and I lost years of my life in prison, that I fucking say, it ain't fair. They did this to me. They did that to me. Even the times that something wasn't fair to happen to me, I still took the time like a man and fucking went and did my time. You know what I'm saying? But you leave it to these fucking people, they talk a tough one and they never been there and never done that. But now when it's getting real hot in the kitchen, now they're fucking whining and crying because them cuffs, them silver bracelets about to be put on, motherfucker, and you're gonna all that time you've been talking shit about people that been in trouble, that been in real trouble before. Now guess what? Boom, boom, there you go. You're gonna be one of them. Yeah, you can call it karma, you can call it whatever you want. What comes around goes around, however you want to state it. But it's real deal Holyfield. And old Giuliani's going to find out real quick like. So with that being said, Big Lou, tapping out.